Hi everyone, welcome back to Side Note with Nora. Today we're talking about something a little different. So a lot of my videos are fun and lighthearted and just about things that I think are fun to talk about and I could talk about forever. But there's also things that I think, even though they're not as fun to talk about, like they're important to talk about. So this is gonna be like a 4-part video essay. And it's about women's self-image as a tool for social control. And I can only really speak on my own personal experience and shared experiences that I've heard from friends and stuff like that. But like, this is an issue all over the world. It's not just America, it's not just third world countries, like it's literally, this is an issue everywhere and has been for a really long time. And I just want to shed some light on it. Like at the very least, at least we can be aware of what is subliminally sent to us. And I think it's important to talk about. So I titled this video essay, "The Mirror as a Weapon, Women's Self-Image as a Tool of Social Control." So let's get into it. Our part 1 here, we're talking about the business of insecurity. If women woke up tomorrow believing that they were already enough, how many industries would disappear? Just think about that. The beauty economy. So we have all of these businesses that are successful because they target women's insecurities. So they're all about making women's appearances better, right? We got supplements, we got the dieting and fitness, we got anti-aging, skincare, hair care, cosmetics, plastic surgery, fashion, weight loss, cosmetics, dentistry, all of those things. And the question isn't whether these things are bad, okay? The question is why so many industries depend on women believing that they need them. And is it fair for them to convince us that we need them? It's not. So first, they have to sell the problem. So advertising often works like this. So step 1, convince you something is wrong. Step 2, sell the solution. So things like, your lashes aren't long enough, buy our mascara. Your lips are too small, get these lip fillers. You know, and they're just telling us things that are wrong with us that are perfectly fine and beautiful, right? I have thin lips, but it's like it is what it is, and it's okay. It's a part of me, and it's just what I look like. And I also think that if people are so shallow to only care about how you look, right? I think that's part of the problem too. Like, I don't want to be judged based on how I look necessarily. Do you? Or do you want someone to like get to know you and then judge you based on who you are as a person? Just saying. So here we have a nice timeline as the goalpost moves. So the ideal woman changes, but the pressure does not. And here we have a timeline of the changing beauty standards, right? We have ancient Egypt, where everything was symmetrical and women wore eyeliner and makeup and it was a symbol of status. And then in ancient Greece, where you had to be pale and modest and feminine. Ancient China, right? They bound their feet. They bound women's feet. Like, if you look at pictures of this, they literally broke all the bones in their foot so that they would look like they had tiny, petite feet. Now, if you ask me, it's probably more so that they couldn't run away from their husbands. But that's just a part of it. And there are still people alive today with these bound feet, and they're rough. It's rough. You'll see. We'll get into it. We have the European Renaissance, where women were a little bit fuller figured, but they were still pale. They had that high forehead. If you've seen, when I was in Italy and I visited museums and things and all the Renaissance period art, women actually shaved their hairline back to have a bigger forehead. Then in the Victorian era, they needed to have a tiny waist and be delicate and fragile. Then in the 1920s, we have our flappers. Of course, it was more about being flat-chested. It wasn't about like the shape of the dress. It was more about how it flowed. And they had all those short hair and, you know, rouge in their knees and all of that. So then in the 50s, we have the housewife, where she had to have the hourglass shape, the perfect posture. She had to be polished and pretty and perfect all the time. She'd be cleaning the house with her hair and makeup done and a beautiful dress on. And then in the 90s, we have our heroin chic, where models specifically were so thin that they looked desperately unhealthy. And this is making a comeback even now. A lot of celebrities are going through something with their image as well. Then in the 2010s, it was all the Kim Kardashian body. You need a fat ass and a skinny waist, and not just a fat ass. You needed to have like an animatedly fat ass. Like none of it even looks realistic. You can tell right away that it's plastic surgery on somebody. Like, these two have affected me more, right? Like, I wasn't alive in the 20s and in the 50s and all the time before that, but I did experience the end of the heroin chic era, right? I grew up in the early 2000s. And then in 2010 with the Kim Kardashian body, right? Like, I've always felt like my normal curves are not enough because of that. And then today, we have things always changing. They're always changing. Everything is online. You're seeing everybody constantly. What are they up to? What are they doing to keep themselves fit and beautiful and healthy? And what should you be doing to do the same thing? As if that's like what matters in life. But basically the goalpost keeps moving. So even though the standard changes, we're still pressured to be whatever society tells us to be. Aging became a disease. Aging is the only privilege everyone hopes to earn, yet women are taught to fear every single sign of it. Wrinkles became something to fix. Gray hair became something to hide. Smile lines became fine lines, and normal skin texture became flaws. So, like me personally, I'm a little bit afraid of aging. I'm happy-ish with how I look now, and I'm scared for, my face to change and stuff like that. But it's because people have told me that after, your prime age, like you're not attractive anymore. I had more men catcalling me as a 12 and 13-year-old than I do now as a 25-year-old. And I'm not saying I want people to catcall me. I don't. And I never did. But to think that preteens are more attractive than a grown woman is like pedophilic and disgusting. So as you age, girl, we age like fine wine. You gain this experience, you gain this perspective, you gain this insight about life that you get to share with the younger girls around you. And it's a really beautiful thing. And I do hope that one day I age and become a little old lady and can help the younger woman in my life too. Like, what a privilege, no? So now let's talk about the price of beauty. So there's a price, money, right? Things are expensive, and there's a price of time. So, you're getting your hair appointment, you're buying some makeup, maybe you get Botox, maybe you have a gym membership, you get your nails done a couple times a month, buying new clothes, dieting. You're spending money on all of these things. These are just gross estimates, right? Add them together. How much is that a man is not thinking about or hasn't even had to comprehend, right? Then think about how much time do you spend at an appointment, right? If you get lash extensions, it takes about 4 hours. If you're getting your nails done, maybe it's only an hour, hair maybe only an hour, but if you're going to the gym every day for an hour or two, right, that is time that you are putting in, right? And exercising for appearance and scrolling beauty content and all of these things that we don't even think about, that are time wasted on the idea of beauty and making ourselves more beautiful, when really we're just how we're supposed to be. So imagine thousands of hours and dollars across a lifetime times all of the women. These industries are you know? It makes me mad. Anyway, continuing. The global beauty and personal care industry is projected to generate $698.38 billion in revenue in just 2026. The sector is experiencing a steady expansion and is expected to grow at compound annual growth rate of 3.16% through 2031. That's $700 billion in 1 year. In 1 year. And they see that it's going to keep growing and keep going. The trend is going to keep getting higher and higher. Think about that. Then we have the beauty labor, right? Women often aren't only expected to be beautiful, but they're expected to maintain that beauty. So you need to look put together. If you have a job and you want to be professional, you need to have makeup on before you go to work. You have to keep your hair maintained and nice. You have to remove all your body hair and be like a hairless child. Pedophilia again. You have to be fashionable. You have to smell nice. You have to smile. And you have to be approachable. And so all of these take labor, and it's oftentimes invisible labor, right? So we are forced to do it for so long that we don't even realize it's a labor to us sometimes. And these are things that people who aren't female presenting don't even really think about and can't imagine making time and space for them in their lives. So why are we expected to? But beauty standards affect men too. They are pushed to be in this gym culture and be big and muscly and take steroids maybe because their body isn't building muscle the way they want it to. They are told they have to be a certain height or they want to be tall. Women like tall men. What about the short kings out there? Hair loss products, right? How many men are getting, hair plugs or things like that because they feel that their natural loss of hair is not attractive enough. So I do want to mention this as well. It is not just the women, but historically, appearance has played a much larger role in women's social and economic opportunities, unfortunately. So is beauty a choice? If someone is judged for their interviews, dating, promotions, social media, how they're respected, based partly on their appearance, how free is the choice? Now, I have been wearing a full face of makeup since like the 7th grade. So my first job at Dunkin' Donuts, I would get up at 6 a.m. and do my full face before I went to work on the weekends after school. So I felt like I had to be my best, most beautiful self all the time. Like I couldn't even leave the house without makeup until college. I didn't feel comfortable. And then when I tried to, I remember I went to school one day my senior year with no makeup on, and it was like a really hard day. And one kid said something and I was like trying to hold back tears and no one else cared. Like no one really cares. It's more about your inner, how you feel going out and being presentable. But we don't have to be presentable because, we're perfect the way we are. The rest of it is just drag. We're all born naked and the rest is drag, okay? So beauty became an industry. Insecurity became its fuel. The less enough women feel, the more valuable the next solution becomes. So they are made to make us feel small, and their advertisements do this to make us feel something is wrong with us and say, here's how you fix it. Give me your money. When someone's profit depends on your insecurity, they'll always have a reason to invent a new flaw. But as we saw with the timeline, right, it changed over time, but it's still about being this like perfect, poised, how society wants you to be. So I also want to say many women genuinely enjoy these things, including myself, and it's obviously valid. I love makeup, I love feeling beautiful. But enjoyment can also exist alongside this social pressure. The question isn't whether individual choices are real, it's how culture, advertising, and expectations shape the choices we perceive as available. So that is my part 1 of this series, The Mirror as a Weapon, Women's Self-Image as a Tool of Social Control. So that's it for chapter 1. Next week in chapter 2, we'll be going into who benefits when women are taught that they are never enough. Because it's not us. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed or learned something. Come on back next time and we'll get into it some more. And thank you for your support. That's all. Ciao. Love you.